new story called The Folk of the Faraway Tree by Enid Blyton. Chapter 1. Curious Connie Comes to Stay. One day, Mother came to the 3 children as they worked out in the garden and spoke to them. "Joe, Beth, Franny, listen to me for a minute. I've just had a letter from an old friend of mine, and I'm wondering what to do. I'll read it to you." Mother read the letter. "Dear old friend, please will you do something for me? I've not been well for some time, and the doctor says I must go away on a long holiday. But as you know, I have a little girl, Connie, and I cannot leave her by herself. So would you please let her stay with you until I come back? I will, of course, pay you well. Your 3 children are good and well behaved, and I feel that their friendship will be good for my little Connie, who is, I am afraid, rather spoilt. Do let me know soon. Your old friend, Lizzie Haynes." The 3 children listened in silence. Then Beth spoke. "Oh, Mother, we've seen Connie once, and she was very selfish and spoilt, and so curious too, sticking her nose into everything. Have we got to have her?" "No, of course not," said Mother, "but I could do with some extra money. You know, and I do think Connie would soon settle down and stop being spoiled if she lived with us. It would be good for her." "And I suppose we should help people if we can," said Joe. "All right, Mother, we'll have Connie, shall we? And just teach her not to be spoiled." "We'll be able to show her the enchanted wood and the faraway tree," said Franny. "Yes, we used to have our cousin Rick, but now he's gone back home," said Beth. "We'll have Connie instead. If you put a little bed into the corner of Franny's and my room, Mother, we can have her in there." Mother smiled at them and went indoors to write to her old friend to say yes, she would have Connie. The children looked at one another. "We'll soon tick Connie off if she starts any of our high and mighty ways here," said Beth. "And we'll stop her poking her nose into everything too," said Franny. "Well, what about taking her up the faraway tree and letting her peep in at the angry Pixie? He'll soon tick her off." The others giggled. They could see that they would have a bit of fun with Connie. She was always so curious and inquisitive about everything and everyone. Well, she would get a few shocks in the enchanted wood. "It would be fun showing somebody else the faraway tree and all the people there," said Joe. "I wonder what curious Connie will think of the saucepan man and Silky and Moonface." "And I wonder what they will think of her," said Beth. "What a lovely name for her, Joe. Curious Connie. I'll always think of her like that now." Curious Connie was to come the next week. Beth helped Mother put a little bed into the corner of the girls' bedroom. Connie wasn't very big. She was the same age as Franny, but she was a fussy eater and hadn't grown as big as Franny. She was a pretty, dainty little thing who liked wearing nice clothes. "Brush that untidy hair, Franny, before you meet Connie," said Mother. Franny's hair had grown rather long and needed a trim. The children went to meet the bus. "There it is," cried Joe, "coming round the corner. And there's curious Connie on it. Look, all dressed up as if she was going to a party." Connie jumped off the bus carrying a bag. Joe politely took it from her and gave her a welcoming kiss. The girls welcomed her too. Connie looked them up and down. "Huh, you do look like country kids," she said. "Well, that's what we are," said Beth. "You'll look like us soon too. I hope you'll be very happy here, Connie." "I saw Rick the other day," said Connie, as she walked daintily along the lane with the others. "He told me the most ridiculous stories." "Rick did? But he's not a storyteller," said Joe in surprise. "What sort of stories did he tell you?" "Well, he told me about a silly enchanted wood and a ridiculous faraway tree, and some stupid people called Moonface and Dame Washalot and Mr. What's-his-name, and a crazy fella called Saucepan Man who was deaf," said Connie. Oh, do you think all those were silly and stupid? Said Joe at last. I didn't believe in any of it, said Connie. I don't believe in things like that. Fairies or elves or magic or anything. It's old-fashioned. Well, we must be very old-fashioned then, said Beth, because we not only believe in the enchanted wood and the faraway tree and love our funny friends there, but we go to see them too, and we visit the lands at the top of the tree as well. We did think of taking you too. It wouldn't be much use, said Connie. I won't believe in them at all. What? Not even if you saw them? Cried Franny. I don't think so, said Connie. I mean, it all sounds quite impossible to me. Really, it does. Well, we'll see, said Joe. It looks as if we'll have some fun with you up the faraway tree, Connie. I would like to see the angry Pixie's face if you tell him you don't believe in him. Let's take her tomorrow, said Beth with a giggle. All right, said Joe, but we'd better not let her go into any land at the top of the tree. She'd never get down again. What land? At the top of the tree? A land at the top of a tree? Said Connie, puzzled. Yes, said Beth. You see, the enchanted wood is quite near here, Connie, and in the middle of it is the biggest, tallest tree in the world. Very magic. It's called the faraway tree because its top is so far away and always sticks up into some strange magic land. There, a different one every week. I don't believe a word of it, said Connie. All right, don't then, said Franny, beginning to feel angry. Look, here we are home, and there's Mother looking out for us. Soon Connie and the girls were unpacking Connie's bag and putting her things away into 2 empty drawers in the bedside cabinet. Beth saw that there were no really sensible country clothes at all. However could Connie climb the faraway tree in a flimsy dress? She should have some old clothes. Well, she and Franny had plenty, so they could lend her some. I suppose you are longing to show Connie the enchanted wood, said Mother, when they went down to dinner. Oh, do you believe in it too? Said Connie, surprised that a grown-up should do so. Well, I haven't seen the tree, but I've seen some of the people that come down it, said Mother. Look, here's one of them now, said Joe, jumping up as he saw someone coming in at the front gate. It was Moonface. His round face beaming happily, he carried a note in his hand. Hello, said Joe, opening the door. Come in and have some dinner, Moonface. We've got a little friend here, the girl I was telling you about, Connie. Ah, how do you do, said Moonface, going all polite as he saw the dainty, pretty Connie. I've come to ask you to dinner with me and Silky tomorrow, Connie. I hope you can come. Any friend of the children's is welcome up the faraway tree. Connie shook hands with the strange, round-faced little man. She hardly knew what to say. If she said she would go to dinner with him, she was as good as saying that she believed in all this nonsense about the faraway tree, and she certainly didn't. Moonface, you have put poor Connie into a fix, said Joe, grinning. She doesn't believe in you, you see, so how can she come to dinner with a person she doesn't believe in at a place she thinks isn't there? Quite easily, said Moonface. Let her think it is a dream. Let her think I'm a dream. All right, said Connie, who really was longing to go to dinner with him after all she had said. All right, I'll come. I'll think you're just a dream. You probably are anyway. And I'll think you are a dream too, said Moonface politely. Then it will be nice for both of us. Well, I'm not a dream, said Connie rather indignantly. I should have thought you could see quite well I'm real and not a dream. Moonface grinned. I hope you're a good dream and not a bad one. If you are a dream, he said. Well, see you all tomorrow. 4 o'clock in my house at the top of the tree. Will you walk up, or shall I send down cushions on a rope for you?" "We'll walk up," said Joe. We really want Connie to meet the people who live in the tree. She won't believe in any of them, but they'll believe in her all right, and it might be rather funny." "It certainly will," said Moonface, and went off grinning again, leaving Silky's polite invitation note in Connie's small hand. "I'm not sure I like him very much," said Connie, taking the last bun off the plate. "What? Not like Moonface?" cried Franny, who really loved the strange little man. "He's the dearest, kindest, funniest, nicest—" all right," said Connie. "Don't go on for hours like that. I'll go tomorrow, but I still say it's all make-believe and pretence, and not really real." "You wait and see," said Joe. "Come on, we've time for a game before bed. And tomorrow, Connie, tomorrow, you will go up the faraway tree." Chapter 2, Up the Faraway Tree. The next day was bright and sunny. Connie woke up feeling rather excited. She was away from home, staying in the country. She had 3 playmates, and they had promised to take her up the faraway tree. "Even if I don't believe in it, it will be fun to see what they think it is," she said to herself. "I hope we have a good time and a nice dinner." The children usually had to do some kind of work in the mornings, even though it was holiday time. Beth and Franny decided to help their mother, while Joe helped Father in the garden. There was a good deal to do there, because there had been some rain and the weeds had come up by the hundred. Connie didn't like having to help make the beds very much, but the children's mother was quite firm with her. "You do the same as the others," she said, "and don't pout like that, Connie. I don't like it. It makes you look ugly." Connie was not used to being spoken to like this. Her mother had always fussed round her and spoiled her, and she had been the one and only child in the house. Now she was one of 4, and things were very different. "Cheer up," said Beth, seeing tears in Connie's eyes. "Don't be a spoilt baby. Think of our treat this afternoon." Connie sniffed. "Funny sort of treat," she said, but all the same she did cheer up. When 3 o'clock came, Mother said the children could go. "It will take you some time to get up the tree, I'm sure, if you're going to show Connie everything," she said. "And please don't let her get wet with Dame Washalot's water, will you?" Connie looked up in surprise. "Dame Washalot's water," she said. "Whatever do you mean?" Beth giggled. "There's an old woman who lives up the tree who is always washing," she said. "She just adores washing, and when she is finished, she tips up her wash tub, and the soapy water comes sloshing down the tree. You have to look out for it." "I don't believe a word of it," said Connie, and she didn't. "Doing washing up a tree? It sounds quite daft to me." "Let's go now," said Beth, "or we won't be at Moonface's by 4 o'clock. "I must go and change into a pretty dress," said Connie. "No, don't," said Franny. "Go as you are. We don't change into nice clothes when we go up the tree." "What? Go out to dinner in ordinary clothes?" cried Connie. "I just couldn't." And off she went to put on a clean white dress. They all went to the edge of the wood. There was a ditch there. "Jump over this, and you're in the enchanted wood," said Beth. They all jumped, Connie too. As soon as she was across the ditch and heard the trees whispering, "Wish, wish, wish," as they always did in the enchanted wood, Connie felt different. She felt excited and curious and happy. She felt as if there was magic about, although she didn't believe in magic. It was a really lovely feeling. They went through the wood and came to an enormous tree with a tremendously thick and knotted trunk. Connie gazed up into the branches. "Gosh," she said, "I've never seen such a tree before. Is this the magic faraway tree?" How marvellous! Yes, said Joe, enjoying Connie's surprise. And at the top, as we told you, there is a different land every week. I don't know what land is there now. We don't always go. Sometimes the lands aren't very nice. Once there was a land of bad temper. That was horrid. And a little while ago there was a land of punishments. We didn't go there, you can guess. We asked our friends Silky and Moonface what it was like, and they said they didn't know either, but they could hear shouts and cries going on all the time. Gosh, said Connie, alarmed. I wouldn't like to go to a land like that, although, of course, she added quickly, I don't believe in such a thing. Of course you don't, said Joe with a grin. You don't believe in the faraway tree either, do you? And yet you're going to climb it. Come on, up we go. They swung themselves up on the lower branches. It was a very easy tree to climb. The branches were broad and strong, and so many little folk walked up and down the tree all day long that little paths had been worn on the broad boughs. What sort of a tree is it? Said Connie. It looks like a cherry tree to me. Oh, look, there are some ripe cherries, just out of my reach, though. Never mind, I'll pick some further up. Better pick them now, or you may find the tree is growing walnuts a bit higher up, said Beth, laughing. It's a magic tree, you know. It grows all kinds of different things at any time. Sure enough, when Connie looked for ripe cherries a little way up, she found to her surprise that the tree was now growing horse chestnut leaves and had prickly covered horse chestnuts. She was surprised and disappointed and very puzzled. Could it really be a magic tree then? Soon they met all kinds of little folk coming down the tree. There were elves and pixies, a goblin or two, a few rabbits and one or two squirrels. It was odd to see a rabbit up a tree. Connie blinked her eyes to see if she really was looking at rabbits up a tree, but there was no doubt about it. She was. The funny thing was, they were all dressed in clothes too. That was odder than ever. Do people live in this tree? Asked Connie in wonder as they came to a little window in the big trunk. Oh yes, lots of them, said Joe. But don't go peeping into that window now, Connie. The angry Pixie lives inside the little house there, and he does hate people to peep in. All right, I won't peep, said Connie, who was very curious indeed to know what the little house looked like. She meant to peep, of course. She was far too inquisitive a little girl not to do a bit of prying if she had the chance. My shoelace is undone, she called to the others. You go on ahead, I'll follow. I bet she wants to peep, whispered Joe to Beth with a grin. Come on, let her. They went on to a higher branch. Connie pretended to fiddle about with her shoe, and then when she saw that the others were a little way up, she climbed quickly over to the little window. She peeped inside. Oh, what fun! Oh, how lovely! There was a proper little room inside the tree, with a bed and a chair and a table. Sitting right in at the table was the angry Pixie, his glasses on his nose. He had an enormous ink pot full of ink and a very small pen, and his fingers were stained with the purple ink. Connie's shadow at the window made him look up. He saw the little girl there peeping, and he flew into one of his tempers. He shot to his feet, picked up the enormous ink pot and rushed to his window. He opened it and yelled loudly, Peeping again! Everybody peeps in at my window, everybody! I won't have it! I really won't have it! He emptied the ink pot all over the alarmed Connie. The ink fell in big spots on her clothes and on her cheek and hands. She was in a terrible mess. Oh, you wicked thing, she cried. Look what you've done to me. Well, you shouldn't peep, cried the angry Pixie, still in a rage. Now I can't finish my letter. I've got no more ink. You bad girl, you horrid peeper. Joe, Beth, Come and help me, sobbed Connie, crying tears of anger and despair down her ink-smudged cheeks. The angry Pixie suddenly looked surprised and a little ashamed. Oh, are you a friend of Joe's? He asked. Why didn't you say so? I would have shouted at you for peeping, but I wouldn't have thrown ink at you. Really, I wouldn't. Joe should have warned you not to peep. I did, said Joe, appearing at the window too. It's her own fault. My, you do look a mess, Connie. Come on, we'll never be at Moonface's by 4 o'clock. Wiping away her tears, Connie followed the others up the tree. They came to another window, and this time the 3 children looked in, but Connie wouldn't. No, thank you, she said. I'm not going to have things thrown at me again. I think the people who live here are horrid. You needn't be afraid of peeping in at this window, said Joe. The owl lives here, and he always sleeps in the daytime, so he never sees people peeping in. He's a great friend of Silky the fairy. Look at him, lying asleep on his bed. That red nightcap he's got on was knitted for him by Silky. Doesn't he look nice in it? But Connie wouldn't look in. She was angry and sulky. She went on up the tree by herself. Joe suddenly heard a sound he knew very well, and he yelled loudly to Connie, Hey, Connie, Connie, look out! I can hear Dame Washalot's water coming down the tree. Look out! Connie was just about to answer that she didn't believe in Dame Washalot or her silly water when a cascade of dirty, soapy water came splashing down the faraway tree. It fell all over poor Connie and soaked her from head to foot. Some of the suds stayed in her hair, and she looked a dreadful sight. The others had all ducked under broad boughs as soon as they heard the water coming, and they didn't get a drop on them. Joe began to laugh when he saw Connie. The little girl burst into tears again. Let me go home, let me go home, she wept. I hate your faraway tree. I hate all the people in it. Let me go home. A silvery voice called down the tree. Who's in trouble? Come up and I'll help you. It's dear Silky, said Beth. Come on, Connie. She'll get you dry again. Chapter 3, Connie meets a few people. I don't want to see any more of the horrid people who live in this tree, wept poor Connie. But Joe took her firmly by the hand and pulled her up a broad bough to where a yellow door stood open in the tree. In the doorway stood the prettiest little fairy you ever saw. She had hair that stood out round her head like a golden mist, as fine as silk. She held out her hand to Connie. Poor child, did you get caught in Dame Washalot's water? She's been washing such a lot today, and the water has been coming down all day long. Let me dry you. Connie couldn't help liking this pretty little fairy. How dainty she was in her shining dress, and what tiny feet and hands she had. Silky drew her into her tidy little house. She took a towel from a peg and began to dry Connie. The others told her who she was. Yes, I know, said Silky. We're going up to Moonface's house for dinner. He said he would ask Mr. What's-his-name too, but I don't expect he'll come, because I heard him snoring in his chair as usual a little while ago. Mr. Who? asked Connie. Mr. What's-its-name, said Silky. He doesn't know his name, nor does anyone else. So we call him What's-his-name. We've tried and tried to find out what his name is, but I don't expect we shall ever know now. Unless the land of Know-all comes, then we might go up there and find out. You can find out anything in the land of Know-all. Oh, said Joe, thinking of a whole lot of things he would love to know. We'll go there if it comes. Suddenly there came a curious noise down the tree. A clanking and jingling, crashing and banging. Connie looked scared. Whatever would happen next? It sounded as if 100 saucepans, a few dozen kettles, and some odds and ends of dishes and pans were all falling down the tree together. Then a voice came floating down the tree, and the children grinned. 2 books for a bookworm, 2 butts for a goat, 2 winks for a winkle who can't sing a note. What a very silly song, said Connie. Yes, isn't it, said Joe. It's the kind the old saucepan man always sings. It's his 2 song. Every line but the last line begins with the word 2. Anyone can make up a song like that. Well, I'm sure I don't want to, said Connie, thinking that everyone in the faraway tree must be a bit crazy. Who's the saucepan man? And what's that awful crashing noise? Only his saucepans and kettles and things, said Beth. He carries them round with him. He's a dear. Once we saw him without his saucepans and things round him, and we didn't know him. He looked funny, quite different. A very extraordinary person now came into Silky's tiny house, almost getting stuck in the door. He was covered from head to toe with saucepans, kettles and pans, which were tied round him with string. They jangled and crashed together, so everyone always knew when the saucepan man was coming. Connie stared at him, amazed. His hat was a very big saucepan, so big that it hid most of his face. Connie could see a wide grin, but that was about all. Who's this funny creature? Said Connie in a loud, rather rude voice. Now, the saucepan man was deaf, and he didn't usually hear what was said. But this time he did, and he didn't like it. He tilted back his saucepan hat and stared at Connie. Who's this dirty little girl? He said, in a voice just as loud as Connie's. Connie went red. She glared at the saucepan man. This is Connie, said Joe. He turned to Connie. This is Saucepan. A great friend of ours, he said. We've had lots of adventures together. Why is she so dirty? Asked Saucepan, looking at Connie's ink-stained clothes and dirty face. Is she always like that? Why don't you clean her up? Connie was furious. She was always so clean and dainty and well dressed. How dare this horrid clanking little man talk about her like that? Go away, she said angrily. Yes, it's a very nice day, said the saucepan man politely, going suddenly deaf. Don't stay here and stare, shouted Connie. I certainly should wash your hair, said the saucepan man at once. It's full of soap suds. I said, don't stare, cried Connie. Mind that stare, said the saucepan man, looking round. Can't see any. Didn't know there were any stairs in the faraway tree. Connie stared at him in rage. Is he crazy? She said to Joe. Joe and the others were laughing at this peculiar conversation. Joe shook his head. No, Saucepan isn't crazy. He's just deaf. His saucepans make so much clanking all the time that the noise gets into his ears and he can't hear properly. So he keeps making mistakes. And that's where I'm going to leave it.